In life, we all tend to follow the same rules. Get up, go to work, make your money, and go home. That's the society we have built for ourselves in the capitalistic world that we live in. We all got bills that we have to pay. Now, usually we try to combat the work with hobbies and friendships and the occasional holiday which helps us justify the hours we work each week. And as much as we in the Western world work, it's nothing compared to the work culture that exists in Asia. And in this video, I want to focus on one in particular that exists in Japan, known as the Salaryman. The Salaryman life is a sad one with long working hours, no personal life, burnout, a lot of drinking, and in some cases, death from overworking. A salaryman is defined as a white-collar, typically male office worker employed by a corporation in Japan. The term embodies a specific lifestyle and a set of expectations that go far beyond simply earning a salary. It becomes their whole identity. In post-World War II Japan, we saw massive economic growth. With this economic growth, we saw large companies like Mitsubishi, Toyota, and Sony needing a loyal and educated workforce. The salaryman became a symbol of a stable, lifelong employment where loyalty matters more than family. They stay at the same place of work because moving jobs is seen as disloyal. This created corporate loyalty, collectivism, overwork, and hierarchical structures that still exist in modern Japan today. And the thing is, it worked. By the 1980s, Japan's GDP skyrocketed and it became the second largest economy in the world. Companies like Sony, Panasonic, and Toyota became global giants. The structure created in this workforce at this time was very effective, and this is where the salaryman came into play. The salaryman is expected to put his work above everything else in their life, including their family. They're expected to work 9 to 5, but also work overtime, whether they get paid the overtime or not. A lot of them would actually work 12 to 14-hour days. In some cases, they can actually end up working up to 80 hours a week. Now, they typically enter a company directly after college, and like I mentioned, they stay with the same company for the entirety of their working lives. In the corporate world that they work in, conformity is valued over individuality. Vacations are available, but most actually don't take them. They sacrifice everything for their role in their company. In some businesses, employees are judged for taking that time off to travel, and in a lot of cases as well, there's this expectation to not take a lot of time off. The general attire isn't far off from what we would wear in the Western world. They generally wear a white shirt and like a conservative tie and a blazer. They would tend to be clean shaven and also would be very polite as expected. There's actually a ton of videos on YouTube of salarymen sharing their day-to-day work life. And the one thing I've gotten from these videos is that there seems to be this cultural expectation that getting like 3 hours of sleep is better than 8. Meaning if you actually get a full 8 hours a night, you're actually seen as lazy. And from what I've researched, their days all seem to be very similar. They all get up early in the morning, they get dressed, commute for at least an hour, head to the office, work for 12 hours with a lunch break in between, commute home, eat, sleep, and repeat. And in some cases, when a lot of them get home, they actually would check their work emails one more time before bed, before starting the whole thing again the next day. Promotions tend to come through seniority rather than skill set. So basically, the longer you stay at these companies, the more likely you're going to get promoted. By the time you hit 30, most salarymen are typically promoted to their first supervisor role, where they oversee new hires who are younger than them. Traditional Japanese companies do not allow employees to supervise people who are older than themselves due to respect. Now, by the time you hit 40 as a salaryman, you more than likely will become a department head, and by the time you hit the age of 50, you get promoted to senior management, where you would stay at that position until you retire at around 60 to 65 years of age. Because salarymen give up so much of their personal life for their company, very few have time to raise families, and if they do, the father is generally absent and barely sees his kids. In their work culture, it is believed that the amount of time spent working correlates to employee efficiency. Face time in the office is crucial. Now, of course, we know that this isn't actually true at all, because in fact, working more hours actually makes employees less efficient, and more mistakes tend to happen because of pure exhaustion. And for the salaryman as well, it's also the commute that takes up a huge amount of time. Many salarymen live in the suburbs of Tokyo or Osaka or other major cities, and also have to commute like 1 to 2 hours to their offices in overcrowded trains. Most actually would sleep on the way to work because they're just so exhausted. In Japanese work culture as well, like being late for work is considered a serious offense, even if it's only by a few minutes. Punctuality is more than a rule. It's a reflection of respect, professionalism, and self-discipline. So that adds the extra pressure for these guys to get to work on time. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, like, how do these salarymen cope with the stress and exhaustion of their insanely busy lifestyles? Well, a lot of them obviously would suffer from burnout due to stress and also depression. But the answer is very simple. They drink a lot. And I'm sure you've seen photos of these guys that are on the train to work and they're like completely just half dead from consuming alcohol all night. And the reason for this as well is because therapy is stigmatized. So most people don't talk about their mental health, so they just try to escape from it. In fact, a lot of people are dying from what is known as karushi, which translates literally to overwork death. The term originates back in the 1970s during the 1973 oil crisis, which took a toll on post-war reconstruction of Japanese industry, and since then the number of deaths has been on the rise. Some studies suggest up to 10,000 non-suicide karoshi deaths occur per year to 30,000 annual suicides that happen per year. They simply do not have the time to develop healthy coping mechanisms from the huge workload. They don't get enough sleep or exercise, which are two huge factors that can help maintain and improve poor mental health. And all that combined with the stigma attached to therapy and the heavy workload, it's just a recipe for disaster. And as I mentioned, there are many day in the life videos of salarymen, and the message is always the same. They are tired, they are miserable, and they want change, but they feel trapped on the path that was paved for them. Now, the Japanese government, to address the issues of overtime going unpaid, have implemented some legal regulations. The Labour Standards Act limits working hours and requires employers to provide overtime pay, but there are exceptions and loopholes that allow companies to bypass these regulations. For example, persons in position of management or supervision and persons handling confidential administrative work who are closely involved in management are not subject to regulations or working hours, breaks and days off, with the exception of regulations on night work. So despite the government legislation, a lot of salarymen are still stuck working these crazy overtime hours with effectively no pay. So why do people even want to be a salaryman? There's also a social expectation on young Japanese men and women. Accepting anything less than becoming a salaryman and conforming to its ideal is actually considered a failure, not only for him or her, but also for their parents. There is shame attached to not doing so. Because of this cultural pressure, they feel they simply have no choice. Their whole life just becomes evolved around work. Every activity they do, even outside of work, would involve their co-workers. Now, to me, it's not surprising that salarymen suffer so much as a result. They are expected to suppress personal dreams that they may have, be disciplined, and have a collective mindset where self-sacrifice is expected for a corporate gain. The problem with this model is economically it's not sustainable compared to the work-life balance that we in Europe have. In fact, in some countries the work week has actually been reduced to 4 days a week. In Japan today we see more of a social shift with more women working as salarymen as well, but younger people are resisting the lifestyle, opting to work in freelance, remote work, and even employment abroad. More and more discussions are had among young people about what life is like in Europe and America compared to the work life they have to experience in Japan. It's leading to younger generations rejecting the salaryman path, seeking flexibility, self-expression, and a work-life balance. Yet many still feel the pressure to enter the same system wearing the uniform of obedience, even as they long for change. Salaryman also created other social issues, or at least had a hand in them, such as the hikikomori, which is a topic that I've covered on this channel before, which is basically about how people in Japan have become very reclusive and they hide away from the world. It could also be potentially contributing to Japan's low birth rate because people simply do not have the time to start a family. A lot of salarymen struggle even after they retire because their whole life and their whole identity is the job that they work. So when they come home after retirement, they feel like they have no sense of identity. In the end, the salaryman is not just a Japanese phenomenon. He is a universal symbol of modern labour, showing us the price of economic stability when bought with personal freedom. It shows us in the Western world how important a work-life balance is. Now, Japan is a fascinating country with a huge amount of positives, but this is something that needs to change for the sake of their people, but also for the sake of economic growth. It's an example where traditionalism collides with modernism, and we're starting to see that pushback as a result. And with younger people starting to resist this path, perhaps in the near future, the life of a salaryman can change for the better. That's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe as always if you enjoyed the video. And as always, let me know in the comments down below what you think of the salaryman lifestyle. Is this something that you think you could be a part of? For me personally, I think work-life balance is crucial. Work should not be your whole life. There is more to life to work. You have to work to make money, but life is too short to become so obsessed that you miss on the really important things that exist in this world. If you're from Japan, let me know what you think. Do you think I've given a good explanation or description of what it's like to be a salaryman? How do you feel about it? Let me know in the comments down below. But that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Peace.